Okay. So the next resource person has already joined. Uh, ma'am, madam, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Can we have 5 minutes break?
Yeah, we can have.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Because
So
it's going to
participant,
be
let's
very
have
tedious. Yeah.
yes, let's have 5 minutes break, and madam
Mm.
will be taking the class again. Okay. She will be
Okay,
talking on
okay.
learning styles, which is going to be very interesting. Okay. Uh, okay, ma'am. If you're ready, we will be starting. Okay. Okay. So, a very good afternoon to our resource person. She has taken class in the second session, uh, pre-lunch. So he'll be taking another class again. She'll be talking on learning styles, and I think that I need not to read her profile again. And I hope that a participant, though it's the last class for today, uh, I think that you still have your reserve energy for the last class, and it's going to be very interesting. Ma'am will make it very interesting again. I know that. So, ma'am, yeah, you can proceed with your lectures, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Romoya. I think you can all see the PowerPoint. So I'll be starting my PowerPoint. Now, before that, as I've told you before, please be ready with a notebook and a pen. Okay, so that later on we will be trying to find out your learning style. Okay, we will be explaining what is learning style, and then later on we will be explaining what is
Ma'am, your voice is not audible. You are not moving. I think you have a problem with connectivity. Yes, Madam will be joining again. Okay, kindly bear with that.
Mm, okay. So let me explain again. When we will be talking about
Ma'am, again, you are not moving. Your voice is stuck again, ma'am. Let's hope that our resource person will be joining back very soon. Okay. Oh, Miss, अच्छा ले तो. Yep.
Internet thật là sự bằng chân.
Oh, yes, yes. It's perfect now, ma'am.
Okay, let me try. Okay, let us start again. So my topic is on learning style. So when we say learning, learning means acquiring knowledge. We may acquire knowledge through reading or through some sort of experiences, or we may acquire knowledge through being taught. Maybe teachers or our parents or someone will teach us. Okay, so that is what we mean by learning. And when we talk about style, style means a design or maybe a method. Okay, so learning style is just method of acquiring knowledge. So that is what we have to know about learning style. Now, accounting for individual learning style is not a new idea. When we say learning style, okay, this is not a new idea because way back in the 4th century also, Aristotle has already talked about individual differences. Human beings have individual differences, and the way we learn is also not the same. Okay, so because of individual differences, we are not the same. Is also not the same. So when we try to learn something new, some prefer to learn by listening to someone talk to them about the information. Some prefer to read about a concept to learn it, and some prefer to see and do a demonstration. Okay, that means some people want to listen and learn. Some people want to read and learn. Okay, some people want to do and learn. So the way we prefer to learn may be different from one another. Okay, so learning styles can be described as a set of factors, or it may be a behavior or attitude that facilitate learning for an individual in a given situation. So we can call learning style as factors, we can call it as behaviors or attitude. But what we need to know is that learning style facilitate learning for individual. Okay, and we are born with certain tendencies. Human beings and animals, when we are born with certain tendencies. Tendencies in the sense that human beings, when we are born, we do not learn how to suck the mother's milk. But every child, every baby who is born knows how to suck the mother's milk. So they have already have that tendency to suck the mother's milk. Although they do not know any other thing, but at least they know how to suck the mother's milk. They know how to cry also. No one teaches them how to cry. Okay, so these are the tendencies that we are born with. Animals are also born with certain tendencies. Okay, like take for example, you call them imprinting. When a duck is born, when ducks are born from the eggs, okay, when they are hatched, we can say when they are hatched, they just follow anything that moves. Okay, like the mother duck is the duck that moves when they are hatched from the eggs. So they will just follow the mother. Okay, so if the mother is not there when the eggs are hatched, and if human beings are there, then they will just follow the human beings. Okay, wherever they will go, they will follow the human being. So like that, this is what we mean by imprinting. They are not being taught. These ducks are not being taught to follow the mothers or to follow someone, but it is imprinting. Okay, so they are born with that type of tendencies. Okay, similarly, birds also, they migrate from one country to another country. No one teaches them. They no one teaches them to migrate from cold place to a warmer place, or from a warmer place to a cold place. No one teaches them, but they know. They are born with that type of tendencies. Okay, similarly, human beings also, every human being we are born with certain tendencies. And these tendencies among the human beings, these tendencies are being influenced by our culture. It is being influenced by our personal experiences, maturity level, and development. Okay, whatever tendencies that we have, they are influenced by our culture, where we are born. our experiences. Okay, so similarly, learning style also, the style that we are born with. Okay, this may be influenced by the environment in which we live. Okay, so learning styles influence how students learn and how teachers teach. So learning style is very important because it influences how students learn their lesson and how the teachers teach the lesson also. Okay, so this way it is very important. Just like we all see the world differently, we all learn differently. The way we learn may be different from one another. We have individual differences. A child's brain is continuously developing. Our brain is continuously developing. The way the child learns also changes over time. Okay, so as the child grows, his or her brain grows, develop, and mature. We all know that when we when we grow, our brain also begins to develop and it becomes mature. So as time passes, the way the child learns best may change significantly. Okay, so the way we learn also may change significantly. Uh, the child uses more than one sense at a time while learning. One sense, we have five senses, okay? The eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. And we take in information from all these five senses. And information to our brain takes different path when we use our eyes, when we use our ears, and when we use our hands. Now, there is one person whose name is Reeve. He says that we all learn, not only students, we all retain information. Uh, like take for example 10% of what we read. Like take for example, you read one book or maybe one page. Okay, you read one page, and then after reading one page you just keep it. Then you try to recollect what you have just read. You will remember only 10% of what you have just read. Okay, so 10% of what you read, if we read the whole book, if we read a whole novel, okay, and then after reading, if we just keep it and if we try to recollect what we have just read, we will remember only 10%. Okay, and he also says we remember 20% of what they hear, of what we hear. Supposing a lecture, you listen to a lecture, like my lecture also, you listen to my lecture, and then after I finish my lecture, try to recall what I have just told you, what I have just lectured. You will remember only 20% of what you have heard. Okay. Similarly, we will remember 30% of what we see. Okay, like take for example, you go to what to say, some park. Okay, some park, a garden or something like that. Then after that, you leave the park, and then you try to remember what you have just seen in the park. You will remember only 30% of what you have just seen. Okay, if you go to the zoo also, and after you leave the zoo, you try to recollect what you have seen. You will remember only 30% of what you have just seen. Similarly, you will remember 50% of what you see and hear. Okay, what we see and hear, because what we see means we make use of our eyes, and what we hear means we make use of our ears. Okay, so when we see and hear at the same time, like take for example a cinema, a film, okay, or maybe this PowerPoint also. When you listen to the PowerPoint, when you look at the PowerPoint, you can see, you can read by yourself. At the same time, you can hear my voice. So that means this is audio visual. You can hear my voice at the same time. You can see what is written in the PowerPoint. Okay, so you'll remember 50% of what you see and hear. Okay, 70% of what they say. Now, take for example, I myself give you lecture, and after my lecture, because I'm the one who gave you lecture, I'll try, if I after the lecture, if I try to recollect what I have just taught you, I will remember only 70%. Okay, 90% of what they say and do, what we say at the same time, what we do, we will remember 90%. Okay, so this is what Reeve has said. Okay. Now, Stewart and Felicity defines learning style as those educational conditions under which a student is most likely to learn. So learning styles are not really concerned with what learners learn, but how they prefer to learn. So when we talk about learning style, it is not the content. Okay, we are not concerned about the content, but about the way. Okay, how we prefer to learn, how we learn. So when we talk about learning style, the focus is on how we learn, not what we learn. Okay, so this is what you need to know. Now, we cannot also divide the population, every individual, into a set of categories. We cannot just say, oh, you are visual learners, you are auditory learners. We cannot do that because all of us are capable of learning through almost any style, no matter what our preference is. Now, we just because take for example, I'm an auditory learner. Okay, now just because I'm an auditory learner does not mean that I learn everything by listening. Okay, so that is why we cannot categorize all the population, all human beings into uh, auditory learners, visual learners, or kinesthetic learners. We just cannot categorize them because all of us are capable of learning through all the different means. Sometimes we learn through reading, sometimes we learn through hearing, sometimes we learn through doing also. Okay, so we cannot categorize people into different sets. Okay, that is one thing. Now, most researchers agree that we do have various learning styles and preferences. However, learning styles are relatively unimportant when designing learning program. We may have different style of learning. Okay, it doesn't mean that we learn only through reading or we learn only through listening, but we may have various learning styles. However, when we are going to make a curriculum or maybe a syllabus for our students, we should not consult the learning style. Learning style is not important when we are constructing a syllabus or uh, a curriculum. Okay, that is what we mean by this. Now, studies have found that visual presentation through the use of pictures was advantageous for all adult, irrespective of a high and low learning style preferences for visual images. That means for all of us who are, there may be someone amongst us who are auditory learners. We prefer to learn by listening. Okay. But even for those persons who prefer to learn by listening, they will have advantages when they see a PowerPoint. That means visual presentation. Visual presentation is is found to be very much advantageous for all the adult. Although we may be auditory learners, but all of us will be benefited through visual presentation. Okay, but that does not mean that learning styles are not important. Okay, well, we will talk about learning style later, but it doesn't. When I say that uh, we are able to learn through all styles, it doesn't mean that learning styles are not important. Okay, they are still very, very important. Now, most students are unaware of their learning style. You yourself will also may not be aware of your learning style. If I ask you what is your learning style, you may not be able to answer. Okay, you may not know your own learning style. If I ask you, are you an auditory learner, or are you a visual learner, or are you a kinesthetic learner? You may not be able to answer it because you do not know what is your style of learning. Okay, so most students are also unaware of their learning style. And if they are left to their own means because they do not know what style of learning they are. Okay, so they will not start to learning in new ways. So learners need to know their own learning style. All of us need to know about our own learning style. We need to know what is our learning style. Okay, because this is important because if we know our learning style, this will help us in learning also. Okay, this I will explain later. Okay, so learning styles are not really styles, but rather preferences in that we do not learn best by using our style of learning, but rather we prefer one or more styles over others. So when we talk about learning style, it is just a preferences. Some people learn to they like to learn by reading. They will read they will read and then they will learn. Okay, they love to learn by reading. But at the same time, there are some people who doesn't like to read. They like to learn by listening. They will just listen, and then they will learn. Okay, so those people who it's just their preferences. Those people who prefer to learn by listening, we call them auditory learners. Those people who like to learn by reading, we call them visual learners. Those people who prefer to learn by manipulating things, okay, by touching and manipulating things, we call them kinesthetic learners. Okay, but as I've told you, learning style is just a preferences. We prefer to learn that way. Okay, but one thing that we should note is that uh, our preferences may not be the best way of learning. Like, take for example, mathematics or arithmetic. Take for example, when you teach children arithmetic, uh, the best way of learning arithmetic is through reading and writing. They will practice what is the arithmetic, multiplication, division, um, addition, subtraction. Okay, if they just listen, okay, if they just listen to arithmetic, it is not useful for them. It is not useful for all of us when we are learning mathematics or arithmetic. Arithmetic and mathematics, we should read and we should do it by ourselves. Okay, we should try to solve the problem by ourselves, by writing and by looking at it, not by listening. Though our preferences may be listening, but the best way is the subject, arithmetic. Okay, for arithmetic, writing and solving the problem by writing and by reading it, that would be the best way. Okay, so even though we may have preferences of learning by listening, but mathematics or arithmetic itself may be better if we learn through auditory, through uh, what kinesthetic, or through visual and kinesthetic mode. Okay, so our learning style is good, but at the same time, some subject may not be it may not be the best for some subject if we learn through our own learning style. Okay, that is what we mean by this. So learning styles can sometimes harm learning rather than help them. So our learning style may sometimes harm us rather than help us. Over reliance on one's learning style could be actually harmful. So they need to select the best style or mode for the task on hand. Okay, so that we need to find out what is the best way to learn this particular subject or this particular thing. We need to select the best style for us, whatever style that we have, but sometimes the other style may be better for us also. Okay. Uh, Now let us talk about the VAK and VARK model. A frequently mentioned learning style model is the VAK or VARK model, posed by Niels Fleming in 1992, which divides people into visual, auditory, read, write, or kinesthetic. That means four types. Visual, number one, number two is auditory, number three, read, write, and number four, kinesthetic. Okay. For example, those who prefer the visual mode get a lot from maps, web charts, and graph. All information organized in visual form. A visual learner likes visual depiction. They like to see, they like to make use of their eyes. Okay. Now, auditory learners take in information best when it is spoken or heard. So if you are an auditory learner, you like to listen and you like to talk also. They also tend to explain things well, so they would do well on oral exam. Okay. Now the third type is read write. Now read write learners are the ones who love to learn from the written words. They like dictionaries, they like code books, and they like reading everything they can on the internet. They also like to write. Okay. Then the fourth one is kinesthetic or tactile learners. They are the students who prefer to connect what they are learning with real life experiences. Okay, so these are the four types of learning: VARK: visual, auditory, read, write, and kinesthetic. Okay, now the work VARK model is now referred to as VAK model. They eliminate the read write. Okay, because read write is already there. Read write is there in uh, what to say visual. Okay, it is already there in visual. When they, we cannot, what to say, we cannot put visual and read write both of them together. Okay, so that is why they eliminate the reading writing as a category for preferential learning. So now it is known as VAK, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Only three of them. Okay, not the four of them. So now we are using the three model. Okay, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Now, learners use all the three modalities to receive and learn new information and experiences. However, according to the VAK theory, one or two of these learning style is normally dominant. Okay, that means we make use of these three. We learn through this three mode. Visually, we learn through visual, we learn through auditory, and we learn through kinesthetic. But sometimes one or two of these mode will become dominant for one particular individual. Okay, so classically, our learning style is forced upon us through life like this. In KG, in kindergarten to class 3, from KG to class 3, information is present to us kinesthetically. That means if you teach children from KG to class 3, okay, from KG to class 3, we always present them kinesthetically. That means we give them models. If we are going to teach them, if we explain it to them, they will not understand. So we have to give them the real thing. Okay, if we teach them what is a bird, they need to see the bird itself. Okay, so they have to see it, they have to manipulate it by themselves. If they are going to learn what to say, different shape, triangle, square, all these things. Okay, then what we have to do is we have to give them the real triangle. Okay, triangle shape, and we have to give them circle, all these things, square, and these things. They have to touch it and they have to manipulate it themselves. That means they learn through manipulation. This is kinesthetic learning. Okay, they will touch it, they will see it, and that is how they will learn it. Okay, so kindergarten, that means from class KG to class 3, usually when we teach them something, we have to show them the real thing. Okay, the real model, we have to show them, otherwise they will not understand. Now from class 4 to class 8, they are visually presented. Visually presented in the sense that you'll find that children, the textbooks of children from class 4 to class 8, it will be full of pictures. Okay, their textbook will be full of pictures. For them, they did not manipulate it so much, but they can learn through pictures. Okay, all information that is through visual, they will see the picture and then they will be able to understand. We need not give them the model form. Okay, so through pictures they will be able to learn from class 4 to class 8, and from class 9 to college and above. Okay, we present them, information is presented through auditory means. Auditory means lecture. Okay, voice, the lecture. So in colleges and in university also, most of the lecture that is given, most of the ways which we present the student is through auditory means. We give them lecture. Okay, they hear it they hear it with their ears. Okay, they hear it with their ears, and that is why the at the higher level, mostly information is presented to the students through auditory means. Okay, so according to VAK theories, we need to present information using all the three styles. So all learners will be involved, even those who are visually who are visual learners, those who are auditory learners, those who are kinesthetic learners will be benefited if we use all the three mode of presenting the students. Okay, when we teach the students, let us try to use all the three mode so that it will be benefited for the visual learners, for the auditory learners, and for the kinesthetic learners. learners. Okay. Now, learning style means that every student learns differently. For example, when learning how to build a clock, some students understand the process by following a verbal instruction, while others have to physically manipulate the clock themselves. Okay. Now, your learning style can be helpful in improving your grade. Why it is important to know about your learning style? Okay, because this, if you know your learning style, this will be helpful in improving your grades. Now, students learn in many ways, as I've told you, through seeing, through hearing, through experiencing things firsthand. We learn in many ways. But for most students, one of these methods stands out. Okay, for each of the students, one of these methods will stand out. Students can perform better on tests if they change their study habit to fit their own personal learning style. So if they change their study, now how do they study? We don't know. Okay, so the way they study, their study habit can be changed so that it will fit their own personal learning style. For example, a visual learning student will sometimes struggle during essay exams because they cannot recall the test materials that was heard in a lecture. Now, supposing you are a visual learner, you like to read, you like to write, okay? You are a visual learner. But in the class, you listen. You do not write, you do not read. You just listen to the lecture, okay? Now, for that person, he heard everything. He have heard everything about the lecture, but during the exam, okay, he may not be able to recall the particular word that is spoken by the teacher. He will try to remember what was that word. Ah, I forgot what was that word. I heard it, but I cannot remember. He will say, I cannot remember. I heard it. I still remember I heard it, but I just cannot remember the word. He will say like that because he's a visual learner. He's not an auditory learner. Okay. So he will try to recollect, but he may not be able to recollect. But during that lecture, if he had written the word, the teacher will give lecture, and that particular word, which is very important, if he had written down in his notebook. Okay, so during exam also, although he may not remember what he has heard, but he will remember what he has written in his notebook. Okay, he will remember what he has written in his notebook book because he is a visual learner. So this way, he will improve. His grades may be improved. Okay, his grade can be improved. However, if the visual learner uses a visual aids when studying, like a colorful outline of test material, he or she may retain more information. As I've told you, if he had written something instead of just listening, okay, what he has listened, if he has just written a small, just person or the name of that thing, the important thing, he could have remembered it during his exam. Okay, so simple explanation of this learning style is this: some students remember best those materials they have seen. Some remember things they have heard, while others remember those things that they have experienced. Okay, that means we have individual differences. Some people remember those things that it is very easy for them to remember those things that they have heard. For some, it is easy to remember those things that they have seen. Some, it is easy to remember those things that they have experienced. So, because of our individual differences, uh, we should try to present information through, as a teacher, through these different modes. Okay. Now, if we talk about this different learning style, visual learning style. Visual learners have two sub-channels, the linguistic and the spatial. Visual linguistic like to learn through the written language. They like to read and write. They remember what has been written down even if they do not read it more than once. Once they read, they will remember because they are visual learners. Okay, they will read it only once, but they will remember. They pay better attention to lectures if they watch them. So even if they listen to lecture also, if they watch the teacher, they will be able to remember better. They will pay attention better. Okay, learners who are visual spatial usually have difficulty with the written language, and they may do better with charts, demonstration videos, and other visual materials. Also, although they are also visual learners, but these visual spatial learners, instead of reading the textbook, they may be benefited if they see the chart, if they see the videos, okay, and some visual materials, pictures, and all those. Okay, so there are two types: the visual linguistic and the visual spatial. Okay, now what are the characteristics of a visual learner? I will read this, and then you will judge by yourself whether you are a visual learner or not. Remember what they read rather than what they hear. If you remember what you read rather than what you hear, it means that you are a visual learner. They prefer reading a story than listening. If you're like this, you're a visual learner. They use diagram and chart to understand ideas and concepts. They are good at spelling, okay, the visual learners. They prefer to work alone rather than in groups, the visual learners, okay. They may not understand verbal instruction. They will understand, but they may not understand too well, okay, verbal instruction. They need to be able to see the teacher. They remember faces, but they forget names. The visual learners will remember face, but they may forget names. They are good with maps. They scribble and draw when they are bored. They are tidy and organized, sometimes to the point of meticulousness. They easily visualizes objects. If you can easily visualize object, if you can see it in your mind's eye, that means you are a visual learner. They have a strong sense of color. Color is very much what to say. Color influences them very much. They are very much color oriented. Okay, they notice minute similarities and differences between people and object. That means for them, for the visual learners, okay, it is very easy for them to recognize people. Sometimes they will say, oh, you look a little bit fatter, okay, or you look a bit thinner. They will the visual learners will recognize that. Other learners, other what to say, type of learners may not be able to differentiate whether they are a bit thinner or a bit fatter. We may not recognize it, but the visual learners may recognize people when they get a little bit thin or a little bit fat. Okay, so they are visual learners. So those are the characteristics of the visual learners. I don't know whether you're a visual learner or not. Okay, now what are the teaching strategy for visual learners? Supposing you have visual learners in your class, what type of teaching strategies would you use for them? Okay, one is supplement verbal lectures with handout diagram or other visual. That means even if you give them a lecture, okay, you can give them notes, you can give them some diagram or some other handouts, okay, and you can use graph, chart, illustration, maps, and other visual aids while teaching, because this will be beneficial for the visual learners. Invite questions to help them stay alert in auditory environment. For the visual learners, listening may be very boring, so sometimes you can ask them some questions also. Incorporate color in your presentation. In your PowerPoint presentation also, if you can incorporate color, okay, the even if you teach them or write in the blackboard, you can use color, chalk, or color, what to say, pen, and all those things. Okay, so this will help them, and then you can give them written instruction and expectation, because they are visual learners. Not Do not just tell them what to do. It is better if you can write it in the blackboard, okay, or in the whiteboard. You can give them instructions. You can use video and still images to enhance their presentation, okay, and also you can give them written feedback in the sense that when they give assignment, okay, when they give assignment, then you can give them feedback. You can write that A, or you can write very good, or you can write fair or something. So this is the way you can give feedback to the students. Write good, very good, satisfactory, or something like that, okay, or maybe just A or B, something like that. So feedback also may be written because they are auditory learners. Okay. uh, Sorry, they are they are visual learners. The first one is the visual learners. Okay, now let us move on to the auditory learning style. Now, an auditory learner depends on hearing and speaking as a main way of learning and may have difficulty with instructions that are drawn. So auditory learners means they like to listen, they like to make use of their ears. Okay, and they also like to speak also. So if it is written, they feel bored to read the written word also, but they like to listen. Okay, they find conventional study practice like practices such as making notes from the textbook. It is not effective for them. Making note is not very much effective for the auditory learners. They would rather listen to audio or visual clip or to discuss a topic. If you discuss some topic with your friends, it is much more beneficial for the auditory learners because they like to listen. Okay, they do not like to make notes. Okay, but they like to listen. While they are not rapid note takers, they cannot take notes. They dislike taking notes. They are able to take in what they need simply by listening. Just by listening, they will be able to remember. Okay, so for them, writing may not be very beneficial, but if they listen intently, they will remember whatever things that they have listened. When an auditory learner reads, it is almost impossible for the learner to comprehend anything without sound in the background. They like sound because they are auditory learners, they like sound. So even when they learn at home, okay, they will sometimes you will find that our children like to listen to music. When they are going to study, they start listening to music. They will listen to music and then they will learn. Okay, for them, listening to music and learning, okay, is very much beneficial. Music does not disturb them at all. In fact, music helps them to learn. Okay, music helps them to learn what they have read. Okay, so if there is some noise at the background, if there are some music at the background, people talking or music or TV in the TV, these learners work better because there is some noise at the background. They like noise at the background, then they learn better. It is easier for them to learn. Okay, so this is for the auditory learners. Now, what is the characteristic of an auditory learners? They like to read out loud, okay, and they also follow spoken directions very well. They tend to have incredible memories for past conversation. If we have some conversation, they will remember that for a very long time. And jokes also. Take for example, you heard a joke that is spoken by someone, then you will the auditory learner will be able to reproduce what the jokes exactly as it is later on. Okay, but if you are not an auditory learner, you may not be able to reproduce the joke as it is. Okay, but the auditory learners will be able to reproduce the joke as it is, so it will be very funny. Okay, so they enjoy getting involved in argument. They also like argument, they like discussion, they like debates also, they like talking to other people, they like to listen to music, they like to sing, they like to hum and whistle also to themselves. Okay, they prefer to give oral presentation rather than written report. They like to report orally rather than give a written report. Okay, this is for the auditory learners. They may read very slowly. They have difficulty interpreting complicated graph, maps, or diagrams. Okay, they understand information best when they hear it. Okay, they understand some small changes in a tone in a person's voice. Now, here also, these auditory learners, if there is some slight change in the voice, in the tone of voice, they will say, oh, the teacher seems to be angry. Okay, some other students may not notice it, but these auditory learners will notice slight change in a tone of a voice from their mothers or from their teachers also. Okay, they are good at oral exams, they like storytelling, and they also solve problem by talking them through. If If they wanted to solve the problem, they will just talk and talk, and they will try to solve the problem through talking. Okay, so these are auditory learners. What are the teaching strategy for auditory learners? Begin new material with a brief explanation of what is coming, conclude with a summary of what has been covered. This is the old saying of tell them what they are going to learn, teach them, and tell them what they have learned. So for the auditory learners, you have to tell them what we are going to learn. Then after teaching them, again, we have to tell them what they have just learned, okay, as a conclusion. So use the method of lecturing or questioning answer learners to draw as much information from them as possible, and then fill in the gaps with your own expertise. That means when you teach the auditory learners, first ask them question, what do they know? What do they already know? So after asking questions and after their reply, when you know that students have learned this much, then you can fill in the gaps. Whatever they did not learn, they did not answer, they are not able to answer, you can tell them. Okay, so this is one of the way in which you can use teaching strategy that you can use for the auditory learners. Include auditory activities like brainstorming. You can use brainstorming also for them. Okay, and then rephrase points, questions. That means whatever points that you have, you can rephrase them again, and then question also we can keep on asking them again. Okay, and vary speed means sometimes you will talk very quickly, your speed will be very fast. Sometimes you will speak slowly. Okay, sometimes your volume will be very big. Sometimes your voice will become small again. Okay, so the pitch also. So this way, all this speed, volume, pitch, and all, if you keep on changing, this will help create an interesting oral texture. Okay, and it will be interesting for the auditory learners also. So write down the key points or keywords to help avoid confusion due to pronunciation, because pronunciation is different for different people. So sometimes they may not understand. So it's better to write down to avoid confusion. Okay. During lessons, ensure auditory learners are in a position to hear well. So auditory learners, it is better for them to sit in the front row. Okay. So they listen well. Incorporate multimedia applications utilizing sound, music, or speech. You can use tape recorders, computer sound card, recording application, musical instrument, everything. All these things you can make use of it for the auditory learners. Okay. Then we move on to the third type, kinesthetic or tactile learning style. Now, kinesthetic learners do best while touching and moving, because they like to move, they like to touch and learn. Okay, so it has two sub-channel: kinesthetic, that is movement, and touch, tactile, touch. They prefer to touch, they prefer to move and build or draw what they learn. They like experiment also. They tend to learn better when some type of physical activity is involved. Okay, they like to take things apart and put things together again. If you present them some toys also, they will quickly they will dismantle it and they will try to put them back again. Okay, so they they tend to find reasons to move around when they become bored. When they are bored, they want to move about. They may be very well coordinated and have good athletic ability. Sportsmen, okay? They can easily remember things that were done, but may have difficulty remembering what they saw or what they heard in the process. They often communicate by touching. They like touch. And they appreciate physically expressed form of encouragement, such as a pat on the back. Now, for these people, it is better if you want to give them feedback, if you want to praise them, don't just write very good in their notebook. It is better if you just pat them on in their back. Okay, oh, you did very well, and then just pat them at the back. This is very much encouraging for them, because they are tactual learners, they are kinesthetic learners, they want touch. Okay, so if you just pat them in their head or in their shoulder, it is very much motivating for them. Okay, if you write very good in their textbook or in their notebook, uh, uh, it may not be very effective. But if you touch them, it is more effective. Okay, so this is for the kinesthetic learners. What are the characteristics of the kinesthetic learner? They are good at sports. They cannot sit still for a long time. They always also like role playing. So even when you teach them something, some subject, you can ask them to do role playing also. They like to build models also, some models, okay, experiment and models. They are involved. They want to be involved in martial arts. They like dancing, and during lecture they become very fidgety. Okay, they have hand-eye coordination, great hand-eye coordination, and they are also excellent experimenters. They like experiment, project work, and all these things. Okay, and they perform well in art and drama. You can ask them to perform in art and drama also, and they have high levels of energy, and they take in information through the sense of touch and feeling. The tactile learners may feel like they have to touch and explore object in order to know them. And the tactile learners learn best with hands-on activities. So these are some of their characteristics. Now we move on to what strategies may be used for the kinesthetic learners. Okay, offer various methods of instruction like lecture. You can use lecture. You can use group work, experiment, project, plays. All these can be used, okay, for teaching. Have your kinesthetic learners perform tasks during the lecture, like filling out worksheet on the material, or you can ask them to take notes. Okay, this will help them focus, even if it is just their hands that is moving. Okay, instead of just listening like that, at least let them move their hands. Okay, so you can ask them to take notes or something, because they want to move about. Okay, they want movement. If you feel the kinesthetic learners slipping away from you in the class, you can stop everyone in the class and have the whole class do something energetic. We can ask all the students, okay, to stand up. If you feel that they are feeling sleepy, you can ask them to stand up and stretch their hands, or their desk. Okay, so just moving will help them regain their focus. Okay, so this is very important for the kinesthetic learners. Keep your lecture short and sweet. The lecture should be short and it should be sweet. Be mindful of all your different learners while planning. Encourage kinesthetic students to write down their own notes. Okay, incorporate multimedia resources like computer, video camera, all these things, photography camera, into the programs. Okay, provide lots of tactile kinesthetic activities in the class. Okay, so these are some of the strategies that you can use for the kinesthetic learners. Okay, so that's all for the lecture. But now, as I've told you earlier, we are going to find out your learning style. Okay, be ready. Be ready with your notebook and your pen. Okay, and here is the question. We will test your learning style. Okay, so number one, you can write number one. Okay, and in each of the numbers, there are three options. So what you have to do is to write number one, and whatever you choose. If you choose A, you write A. If you choose B, you write B. If you choose C, you just write C. Okay, so these are the three options. Out of these three, you can write A, B, C. Okay. So when you study for a test, would you rather A, read notes, read headings in a book and look at diagrams and illustration? B, have someone ask you questions or repeat facts silently to yourself? C, write things out on index card and make models or diagrams. Which one would you choose? Okay, when you study for a test, number A or number B or number C. So what you have to do, you just write one. Okay, then dash, and then you write A or B or C. Okay, you choose whatever things that you have chosen, you just write it. Okay, so I think we can move on to the second one, second question. Which of these do you do when you listen to music? Okay, you daydream. A is daydream. You see things that go with the music, you daydream. Number B, you hum along. Number C, you move with the music. Maybe you will tap your feet also with the music. Okay, which one would you do? A or B or C? Okay, so you write number two, then you give your option. Then we move on to number three. When you work at solving a problem, do you A, make a list, organize the steps, and check them off as they are done? B, make a few phone calls and talk to friends or experts? C, make a model of the problem, or walk through all the steps in your mind. Which one would you do when you are trying to solve a problem? Which one would you do? Okay, A or B or C. Okay, so you have your choices. Now we move on to the next one. Number 4, when you read for fun, do you prefer a travel book with lots of picture, B, a mystery book with lots of conversation, or C, a book where you answer questions and solve problems? Okay, when you read for fun, do you prefer A or B or C? You have your choice. Okay, then we move on to number 5. To learn how a computer works, would you rather A, watch a movie about it, B, listen to someone explain it, C, take the computer apart and try to figure it out for yourself? Which one would you do? Okay, when you learn how computer works, which one would you do? A or B or C? Okay, so again, you have your choices. Number 6, you have just entered a science museum. What will you do first? Look around and find a map showing the location of the various exhibit. This is A. Okay. B, talk to a museum guide and ask about the exhibit. C, go into the first exhibit that looks interesting and read directions later. Which one would you do? Okay, when you enter the science museum, what will you do first? A or B or C? Okay, number 7, what kind of restaurant would you avoid? One with lights too bright, one with music too loud, one with uncomfortable chairs. Which one would you choose? A or B or C? Okay, this is in a restaurant. Then we move on. Would you rather go to an art class? This is A. B, a music class, or C, a gym class? A or B or C? Which would you rather go? Art class, music class, gym class? Okay. Number 9, which are you most likely to do when you are happy? A, grin and smile broadly. B, shout with joy, talk a lot. C, jump for joy, act really hyper. Which one would you do? Okay. So, which are you most likely to do when you are happy? A or B or C? Number 10, if you were at a party, would you be most likely to remember the next day? The faces of the people there, but not the names. The names, but not the faces. The things you did and said while you were there. Which one would you do? If you were at a party, what would you be most likely to remember the next day? A or B or C? Okay, so you have your options there. Number 11, when you see the word DOG, what do you do first? Number A, think of a picture of a particular dog. B, say the word dog to yourself silently. C, sense the feeling of being with a dog, like petting it or running with it like that. Okay, so what would you do? What do you do first when you see the word DOG? A or B or C? Number 12, would you rather write a story? A, B, tell a story out loud, or C, story. Okay, would you rather write a story, tell a story out loud, act out a story? Which one would you do? Okay, then number 13, which is what is most distracting for you when you're trying to concentrate? A, visual distraction. B, noises. C, other sensations like hunger, tight shoes, or worry. Okay, so what is most distracting for you when you're trying to concentrate? A or B or C? Number 14, what are you most likely to do when you are angry? A, scold. B, shout or blow up. C, stomp off and slam doors. Which one would you do? Okay, when you are really angry? A or B or C? Next, when you are not sure how to spell a word, which of these are you most likely to do? A. Write it out to see if it looks right. B. Sound it out loud to see if it sounds right. C. Trace the letters in the air. Okay, which one would you do? A or B or C? Then number 16, which are you most likely to do when standing in a long line at the movies? A. Look at posters advertising other movies. B. Talk to the person next to you. C. Tap your foot or move around in some other way. Okay. So which are you most likely to do when you are standing in a long line at the movies? A or B or C? Next, what is the best way for you to study for a test? A. Read the book or your notes and review pictures or charts. B. Have someone ask you questions that you can answer out loud. C. Make up index cards that you can review. Okay, so what is the best way for you to study for a test? A or B or C? Number 18, what is the best way for you to learn about how a video game works? A. Get someone to show you. B. Read about it or listen to someone explain it. C. Start playing and figure it out on your own. Out of these three, which one would you choose? So this is number 18. Number 19, what do you find most distracting when you are trying to study? A. People walking past you. B. Loud noises. C. An uncomfortable chair. Okay, so what is the most distracting when you're trying to study? A or B or C? Number 20, when in a new place, how do you find your way around? A. Look for a map or directory that shows you where everything is. B. Ask someone for direction. C. Just start walking around until you find what you are looking for. So, A or B or C, this is your option. Okay. Then number 21, when you hear a song on the radio, what are you most likely to do? A. Picture the video that goes along with it. B. Sing or hum along with the music. C. Start dancing or tapping your foot. So these three options, what would you do? Okay, when you hear a song on the radio. Number 22, what do you find most distracting when in class? Number A, lights that are too bright or too dim. B, noises from the hallway or outside the building, like traffic or someone cutting the grass. C, the temperature being too hot or too cold. So out of these three options, what do you find the most distracting when in class? Next, 23, what do you like to do to relax? A, read. B, listen to music. C, exercise, walk or run or play sports, etc. Okay. Then number 24, what is the best way for you to remember a friend's phone number? A, picture the numbers on the phone as you would dial them. B, say it out loud over and over and over. C, write it down or store it in your phone contact list. So which one would you do? Okay, when you're trying to remember a phone's friend's phone number. Number 25, if you won a game, which of these three prizes would you choose? A poster for the wall. B, a music CD or MP3 download. C, a game of some kind or a football or soccer ball, etc. So which one would you choose out of these three? Okay. Then number 26, which would you rather go to with a group of friends? A movie, B, a concert, C, an amusement park. Okay, so out of these three, you can have your choice. Then number 27, what are you most likely to remember about new people you meet? A, their face but not their name. B, their name but not their face. C, what you talked about with them. Okay, so what would you remember? Then number 28, when you give someone directions to your house, what are you most likely to tell them? A description of building and landmarks they will pass on the way. That is A. Or B, the name of the roads or streets they will be on. C, follow me. It will be easier if I just show you how to get there. Which one would you do? Okay, if someone asks you directions for your house, which one would you do? Okay. Then the next one, 29. When learning a lesson in school, would you prefer A, the teacher show a PowerPoint or film, B, the teacher lecture, C, the teacher has you get up and do an activity out of your seat? So which would you choose out of this three, A, B, C? Okay. Then the last one, in your mind, which best describe you? A, a visual person, B, a good listener, C, a doer. Okay, so you can again write A or B or C for number 30. Okay, so with this, we have finished with your test. Now, let me tell you how you are going to score it. Okay, so total up all your A's and B's and C's. How many A's have you written? How many B's have you written? And how many C's have you written? Just add up all your A's, all your B's, and all your C. Okay, add up all your A, B, and C. And then if you have the most A, okay, if you have the most A, that means you are a visual learner. If you have the most B, if you write more B, you are an auditory learner. If there are more C, you are a tactile learner or a kinesthetic learner. Okay, so this is how we find out whether what type of learning style you have, whether you're a visual learner, an auditory learner, or a kinesthetic learner. Okay, so which one is the most? Yeah, I've written A, the number of the number, how many A's divided by 30, so there are 30 numbers. Okay, so the percentage, if you want to find out, you can use that, but it's no use. If you can just add up and see which one is the most. Okay, A or B or C. So that way you can find out your learning style. Okay, so with that, I'll end up my lecture for today. Let's see if there are any questions or the chat box. Okay. Some of you are auditory. See, what I want to tell you, some of you are tactile learners, some of you are auditory learners, some of you are visual learners. Amongst you also, there are auditory learners, visual learners, tactile learners. Okay, you don't know what type of learners are you are before, but now through this you know what type of learners you are. Okay, so if all of them are equal, all of them will not be equal, but there is a possibility that two may be equal. Okay, two, you may have two, which is the most. Okay, like take for example, you may have 10 to 10, or maybe 213. Okay, 213, and one may be lesser. So in that case, it means that you are both an auditory and what to say, visual learner. If visual learner and tactile learners are same, okay, and if they are more, if they are the same, that means you are both a visual and an auditory learner. If two of them are the most, then whatever uh, most you have, that is your learning style. Maybe you have two type of learning style. It could be that. Okay. So anyway, now I think you know what your learning styles are. Okay. So I think there's no question about. I think everything is clear. So we'll end up our lecture for today. I don't know what the time now. It's going to be okay. It's not yet 4, Anyway, we can wind up now because it's the last class. So let's wind up.
Thank you so much, Professor, for your insightful presentation, and I hope that the participants were also very engaged with the topic which you have explained. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us your time, and I hope that we will be engaging your service in the near future also. Thank you so much, ma'am. Have a nice evening,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay, thank you. Okay, I'll move out. Okay, then.
Yes, ma'am. So, dear participant, tomorrow is not a holiday, okay? We will be starting our class from 10 o'clock, and but we will be having class only for two sessions tomorrow. It will end by 1 o'clock, okay? So do not ask any question regarding whether it's holiday or not. Saturday is not a holiday; it's a half day, working day. We will start on the same time, 10 o'clock, and we will end by 1 o'clock again, okay? Have a nice evening, everyone. Bye bye.